Hello, Nyy'zai of planet Earth. My name is Nyy'zai, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about peak pathway for the Nyy'zai. A peak pathway for any given mojo is all 8 of their powers being used as they were designed to be used for the greatest amount of productive harmony. So we've already discussed your 4 conscious powers as a Nyy'zai, which are Ni, Zai, Ji, and Vi. But you also have 4 more powers that are unconscious. So if we were to rank these unconscious powers under your conscious powers in the order of easiest to access from your conscious mind, or easiest to dialogue with from your conscious mind, you would have a hierarchy that we call the consciousness ranking. So let's go through that. First you have Ni, second you have Zai, third you have Ji, fourth you have Vi, and now we go unconscious. Then in your unconscious you have Nai. This is going to be the strongest and closest to the surface out of all the powers in your unconscious. So it's going to be the easiest for you to connect with in a conscious way. Even though it is unconscious, it's still easier for you to reach through your conscious powers. Then you have Z, which is going a bit deeper now when you're unconscious. Deeper still is going to be Zai, and then finally V. So that's the order of your consciousness peak pathway. Ni, Zai, Ji, Vi, Nai, Z, Zai, V. When you experience your peak pathway in real life, it's not going to have this technical one after another sort of feel. It's going to feel a bit more like a ride, like an organic experience that you're experienced through your entire body and through your entire life in every activity that you do. The first part of your consciousness peak pathway is called the charging up phase. And this is basically your Ni. It's the power that's always there for you. It's always on. You don't actually have to boot it up. So it's already going. You know, you never actually have to kickstart your story because your Ni is the innate part of it. It's always charging up, always kind of building up the energy that you need to do to continue on into your heroic storyline. So you have the conscious accessing of your Ni that gives you major momentum, then the conscious accessing of Zai, which gives you minor momentum. Then you are doing something called crossing the divide, which means you are going to the other side of your conscious psyche, into your modulation powers, starting with Ji as minor modulation and Vi as major modulation. So the Nyy'zai begins by drinking in abstractions and possibilities. They sift through them or find equilibrium using reactive theorizing, deductive reasoning. They give voice to them and express those using persuasion, charm, social awareness, and they hold on to and store the strong life lessons to recall later on with call to remember, exact experiences. When you actually go as far as to touch your polar power, then you are opening the portal into your unconscious, because your Nai is the top power of your unconscious, and this responds to the special kind of Vi that you provide. So when you go from Ni to Zai to Ji to Vi, then it creates a chain reaction that awakens your unconscious genius. This begins the wave swell. What happens is you'll begin to feel a swelling of energy, which is similar to the rising up of energy that you experienced in just the charge up phase. But now you're feeling your unconscious being given over to you. It's interfacing with your conscious powers, boosting them up. So when you feel this boosting of energy, that's what we call the wave swell phase. And that comes from successfully doing your conscious powers in such a way that awakens your unconscious. So then once that wave swells, then it'll tend to come with the tidal wave, meaning this is your Nai and your Z of your unconscious coming to you together as one. They'll also come to you in a personified form, which we'll talk about more in other episodes, but they'll come to you as energy. And so the Nai brings visionary drive, long-range planning, speculations, envisioning, and that'll be infused with Z, thirst for challenge, strategy, organization. That'll come to you as a being in your psyche to you. It'll come as a general sensation and as a reaction that your psyche has to what you do consciously. As you do certain maneuvers consciously, then the Nai and Z of your unconscious will react accordingly as one sort of compound that we call the tidal wave. But these can also separate into distinct Nyi and Z for you to interface with, but it won't be naturally differentiated in this way. But it won't be as naturally differentiated for you as the conscious powers are, which tend to be more differentiated for you to kind of grab at individually. It'll be more like a reach to do it. It won't be as hands-on. When you go into the unconscious, it's kind of like you're fumbling around it. Or it's a link that's handed to you from places unknown. So it kind of comes as a package deal, but you can unpack that into the Nyi and Z. Then you have the coastal wave, which if you do the tidal wave correctly, then you're going to have energy coming in that's coming from your unconscious Nyy'zai and V. That flows naturally from the unconscious. So if that goes well, then it'll continue and it'll take the energy back over to your side through the Nyy'zai and V, and it'll return you back to your native quadrant of Nyi. Then from there, you can start the cycle again. And this can be done if you peak properly. So it'll be a bit like going to the gym and then getting a good workout. You'll have a bit of a refractory period where you'll kind of have spent yourself. But don't worry, because it'll come back once again, because this restarts you back to the charge-up phase, where you will begin charging your momentum powers, which you could once again go through your cycle of Nyy'zai, Ji, Vi, Nyi, Z, Jai, V. And you could continue your peak pathway cycle over and over again, infinitely. Now, all of your powers are actually interacting together at the same time, all the time. So it's actually a question of how you access them and how you understand what's going on when you are accessing them. So it's not going to be a strict Nyy'zai, Ji, Vi all of the time, or it doesn't necessarily always have to be that way. You know, it's not a pass-fail sort of thing. Sometimes, you know, depending on what you're doing in life, you kind of begin by focusing on other powers first. You know, like for example, maybe you have to give a presentation or something like that, and you might have to go straight to Ji or something like that, or maybe start from Zai. And you can still kind of get productive harmony from that, but what you should understand is that the maximum optimal productive harmony is actually beginning with your source power and then going on down the peak pathway. So you can do different orders to pull off different maneuvers, but there are going to be certain orders that make for the greatest gaining of energy to help you bring into any activity or any maneuver that you want to do. So the two main pathways are the consciousness peak pathway, Nyy'zai, Ji, Vi, Nyi, Z, Jai, V, and you do it in that order, so it'll be easier for you to access powers that might be far away. It might be a bit of modulation. And when you do it this way, then you're bringing the backing of momentum powers, momentum understanding, to kind of streamline or funnel energy down the rest of your conscious peak pathway. However, the consciousness peak pathway is not the hierarchy that is of the most influence in the psyche. The hierarchy that is of most influence in your psyche is actually the energetic hierarchy, and that has to do with which channels are taking precedence in your psyche, which channels and which corridors. Now, this is different from which powers are most conscious, most to least conscious, because energetically, it's actually Nyi that is your top most energetically ranked power. But then it's actually your Nyi, your unconscious Nyi, that has the second most influence over your conscious mind. Even though it's unconscious, it has nearly equal influence to your Nyi. In fact, the only reason that your Nyi has more influence is because of the fact that Nyi is conscious and Nyi isn't. Because of that, then for you, the Nyi is going to lead this dance. So then continuing on, your next power would be Zai. And then because of the fact that for you as a Nyy'zai, it is the logic-based channel that's ranked second for you energetically, then after Zai, then it's going to be Z. The Z is unconscious, but it's a part of the Zez channel, which is your second ranked channel. Then it is going to be Ji, and then Jai, and Vi, and V. So once again, the energetic hierarchy has to do with the way your channels are ranked. So remember, as a Nyy'zai, then you are going to be Nez channel, Zez channel, Jez channel, and Vez channel. So that's Ni, Nyi, Zai, Z, Ji, Jai, Vi, V. So as a Nyy'zai, you can access all of your powers to do all kinds of different things, but you'll always be working with this consciousness hierarchy rank of how much you can directly influence your powers, and the energetic ranking on how much influence that these powers have over your psyche based on which channel they occupy. So the range is incredible, but you're working with this design. So the more you're able to understand it, the more you'll be able to access all of these powers and be able to do all the kinds of incredible things that they can do once you know how they work. Know yourself, grow yourself, and save the world. And the peak pathway is the way that you'll be able to know yourself, grow yourself, and get all the kind of energy and magic powers that you'll need to help save the world. See you later.